Today I'm going to show you how to make 4 different scales, measure out 4 different scales for each of these different types of shading techniques. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 you'll end up with on one page. This is a 9x12 sheet of paper, and I would imagine if you're taking a piece of paper out of a sketchbook, then you'll be probably working with the same size. And if you have to work on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, then you'll just have to do your measurements a little bit differently. But as long as you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares going across, if you have to make that measurement a little bit smaller because you're working on a smaller piece of paper, that's okay. So I'm going to demonstrate how the easiest way to do this. Oh, and you're going to be in each one of these, not yet, just for this you're going to be setting up your paper, but in the future you are going to be experimenting with a value scale in hatching techniques, a value scale in cross-hatching techniques, one in stippling, and one in scribbling and free. And I don't want you to go ahead and do any of that yet because I want to demonstrate how to approach those things. So first, to make your 4 different scales, the very first thing you're going to do is get a ruler. This one is a little bit more complicated than the one that you probably have at home. But I've just got to find the inches side, which is here. And along one of the longer sides, I am going to make 2-inch marks. So not along the short side, but along one of the longer sides of the piece of paper. Every 2 inches make a mark, because that's how wide I want your boxes to be. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And then you'll do the same along the opposite edge. So in this case, it's the top for me. Every 2 inches make a mark along the edge. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So now you've got 5 marks spaced 2 inches apart going along the top, and 5 marks exactly the same going across the bottom. And now take your ruler and with a light line connect them. So the best way is to hold your pencil on the mark, slide your ruler up against it, line it up with the bottom one. And I'm just doing this with very light pressure so that the lines aren't too dark, because I'm going to be erasing some of them in the end. Okay, so now you have your entire piece of paper separated into 6 equal 2-inch sections going across, so 2 inches. Next, in order to make my individual bands or my individual scales, I'm simply going to use the width of my ruler and trace the width of my ruler. So like what I did here was I just laid this down here and I traced on the top and the bottom. I left a little bit of space and then I traced it again. Left a little bit of space and then traced it again. If you have a thicker ruler, which you might, if your ruler is a little bit thicker than this, that's fine. They can be thicker as well. Okay, so just demonstrate here. I'm gonna leave a little gap at the top. I'll place my ruler, I don't know, what is that, about an inch down, about an inch down. And then I'm going to trace either side of the ruler. So I'm really just tracing the width of the ruler. And that's going to be one of my scales. Then I'm going to leave a gap and trace again. This just eliminates how much you have to measure. I'm throwing numbers in here because sometimes with all the lines it can get confusing. You'll see as you do it. Leave a space, make my 3rd scale, that's my number 3, leave a space, and make my 4th scale. to move that around too much. Okay, and that's my fourth one. Next step, I want you to erase the unneeded lines in between. You can use any type of eraser that works. So I just went through and took some time to erase all the unwanted in between ruler lines, even at the bottom. You really just want the lines within the scales themselves. You can erase these numbers, your numbers too. Some people like to actually have the number right along the bottom, like this. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sometimes people like to number it the reverse way. They like to do the lightest as number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The numbers are optional, whatever helps you. But then I do want you to label each one at the top, each scale at the top, because that's going to dictate what you do within each one. So the top one, I want you to label hatching. The second one, I want you to label cross hatching. The third will be stippling. And the fourth will be labeled scribbling or free. I'll let you experiment in this final one with the value scale.